Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Worldview Truth. This is Randy Osborne with Worldview Truth, and I've got in the studio today Bridget Smith, and she is the chair of the Marion County Republican Party here in Marion County. And I asked her to come in today just for really just to try to sort out some of the things that's going on with former President Trump. We are in a very, very dark time. This is the fourth indictment on President Trump. There's been 3 federal indictments. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And then we have now the Fulton County, Georgia, Georgia indictment. And I'm just going to kind of go through I think there's a total of 91 charges with those indictments, and as a result of a possibility of about 712 years in prison as a result of these indictments. And I just want to go through first, just to go through the last one, the last indictment, trying to give some reference to this. This is a county prosecutor. Now, I have met this county prosecutor back when I was doing the recount for President Trump there in Fulton County, Georgia. I was there.
As a sidebar, isn't Fulton County the same county that brought in Martin Luther King, indicted him?
Yes. In fact, it was the very same jail
right.
that he was indicted in over perhaps similar issues. Makes you wonder.
Makes you think.
This situation, what we have is we have President Trump that was indicted in a county jail. I mean, in a county by a county prosecutor. I've met this prosecutor during the recount in Fulton County. She was at the center there in Fulton County, and I'm just going to get out there. You ready for this?
Yep.
She is one nasty woman. I'm just telling you, she is one nasty woman. And in fact, she actually threatened to have me arrested on 2 occasions during that recount, which I was lawfully allowed to be there, lawfully allowed to be part of that process. And when I would actually question something, very respectfully, I might add, she would get upset about it. And it was over. I'm going to tell you what was over. You ready for this? It was over. There was a stack of ballots, and I have told this before on other podcasts, but I'm just going to get out there and say it again. There was a stack of ballots, which we had measured later based on the stack, around 3,000, 3,500 ballots. And these were mail-in ballots. Now follow me on this. They were mail-in ballots that had never been folded. Also on those ballots, they were different paper than the official ballots that were used in Georgia. I actually talked to the Secretary of State's office on that, and I just asked them for the process because I didn't want to challenge the ballots until I understood the process. And I said, "In your mail-in ballots, now how do you do this? How do y'all process these ballots? How you put them out there? How do you get them out there?" I said, "Do you mail them out?" And he goes, "Yeah, we mail them out." I said, "Now the ballots themselves, do you have them printed?" He's like, "Yeah, there's a organization, a company, a printing company that we authorize, that we commission in Arizona." That's kind of scary. Yeah. But that's
considering Maricopa.
Right. That's what he told me, though. And I said, okay. And now you mail them like in a big business size, or is it like one of those big manila envelopes? He goes, no. We fold them and we put them in a business size envelope. I said, so y'all fold them up and put them in an envelope?
Yeah, but they weren't folded. That's
the point. That's what we're getting. So, and not only they weren't folded, but if you looked at the ballots, they were all bubbled in for Joe Biden. And there was the copier that was used. Now I'm making a suggestion here, so I hope the DA doesn't prosecute me for this, alleged, got that one,
yeah.
alleged, okay. There was alleged marks of a dirty copy machine. So there was like a little mark on the side of every single one, and the bubble on every single one of those ballots were identical.
Interesting.
Now, the reason that she got mad at me is because I noticed that, and she thought I was perhaps talking to one of the people that was processing the ballots. So this is who this lady is. And if somebody asked me, was there fraud in Fulton County? Yes, there was fraud. I personally witnessed fraud, so I can definitely say that there was fraud there.
It's not just Fulton County. I mean, have you heard the most recent stuff with Marion County? Came out couple months ago, that the machines, machines get validated. And the machines in Marion County, remember those hours, there was long lines because there was the machines had stopped.
Yes.
Well, from what finally came out about that was that the machines were validated with a certain thickness ballot paper. But all of a sudden, the day of the election, the ballot paper wasn't the same thickness.
Oh, wow.
So how does that happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's all these interesting little facts that come out, all these different states, when they say that there's no election fraud. You have all these kinds of types of issues, and you're thinking, well, wait a second.
So I'm going to kind of hone in on Georgia just for a moment to kind of address what the charges were. First of all, he was officially arrested in Fulton County Jail. Now, if anybody knows anything about Fulton County Jail, and I don't know anything about
it. It's old.
It's really old.
It's old.
It's decrepit. It's actually under investigation by Department of Justice for the conditions. The jail itself is somewhere in the neighborhood of 120% overpopulated. There was somebody that died, and I believe it was 2021. It was a 35-year-old male that died there. And when they found him, he was severely malnutrition. He was basically starving to death, and he was eaten up with bed bugs and lice. And I mean, this is, and there's a lawsuit from the family about this. It's just a nasty, nasty place. I think there was 11 people died the year before, and to date, I think there's somewhere in the neighborhood of around 5 to 7 people's already died in that jail. Now, things happen, but those kind of numbers, something's really weird about it. So he was arrested. He actually had to drive. Obviously, his detail took him to the jail. He was booked. They took a picture, and he had to submit a $200,000 bond. Now, the purpose of a bond is to make sure you show up for court. Let me think about this for a minute. This is the former president of the United States that is being held, or actually is being overseen by the Secret Service detail. And they made him post a $200,000 bond. So I find that interesting. The other thing that she did is there was a total of, there was a number of people that she actually indicted as well. And I'm going to mention those names because one of them is, to me, has a really, it's concerning when you listen to some of the people that she also indicted.
Rudy Giuliani, right?
Rudy Giuliani.
And Jenna Ellis.
Go on.
And all his attorneys, Mark Meadows was the chief of staff, right?
Yes.
And, several other of his attorneys.
If you look at the names, what you'll find out is this is a political witch hunt. Right. This is the kind of stuff that I have personally seen in third world countries. Your opponent, if you go after a political opponent, if you win, then you go after your political opponent. In fact, in Bible times, what they would do is they would just go ahead and just execute all the opposition. So, I mean, that's pretty much kind of what they're doing here, in my opinion. So here's the counts. Now listen to these accounts. This is in Fulton County, Georgia. This is President Trump's, what they have charged him with. 3 counts of solicitation of violation of oath by public officer. I want you to listen to the words here. Solicitation, okay? It wasn't a violation of oath. It was a solicitation of violation of oath. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree. Okay, conspiracy wasn't an actual act. It was he intended to do this. Okay. 2 counts of conspiracy to commit false statements and writings. 2 counts of false statements and writings, basically saying that, and from what I can gather from this, by basically stating or putting in writing that there was election fraud and that the state of Georgia basically had a dishonest election, however you want to call it. 1 count of violation of the Georgia RICO Act. 1 account of conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer. 1 account of conspiracy to commit filing false documents, and 1 count of filing false documents. Now, all of these are basically indictments that would be under a state, and most of these did not happen in Fulton County, Georgia.
Right.
Okay, so what happens is, for example, our sheriff here in Marion County, if somebody came in and they did something bad in Marion County, Georgia, I'm sorry, in Marion County, that'd be good, in Marion County, Florida, then our sheriff would make an arrest, or with our district attorney, they would get involved in that, and they would make indictments and arrests on crimes happening where? In Marion County, Florida. The same situation happens in Fulton County. She is doing things that would be of a state or federal charges, not somebody that's
Well,
happening.
that's what I was listening to Mark Levin the other day, and he's mentioned the same sort of thing, that the state, it has to happen in the state, otherwise the other state cannot do that. He touched on the same topic.
Well, this is a major issue that I see, and again, she has bragged about indicting him. She has raised money as a fundraiser on indicting him. I posted this Facebook. I don't know if you saw it or not. It was, I think it was more entertaining for myself than anybody else. But I said that she was under investigation for campaign violations, basically the Hatch Act violation, for authorizing pictures taken for campaign ads. And that's basically President Trump's mugshot,
right?
Because that's pretty much what it's going to turn into, because the people are fed up with it. Something that they did not show, I don't think any of the press showed, when they were traveling to Fulton County. They're going through projects. Okay, I'm a little familiar with Fulton County because I lived on the outskirts and worked in Fulton County years ago. That is a project. Okay, when you get to that place, that's a project. And as he was going through, there was, every once in a while the press would show, pictures of some haters.
Right.
What they didn't show,
Supporters.
Right. And you know who those supporters were? They were black supporters.
Right.
Because they can relate to some of maybe perhaps the injustice that happens. And I found that very interesting. So what is your take on this? I mean, first of all, it's, they've tried to frame this January 6th insurrection.
Right. Well,
is what they're trying to do.
Right. And what the media or the legacy media is not talking about is that they seem to say the insurrection January 6th and trying to overtake the election. But in the past, let me tell you a little tidbit. In the past 20 years, Democrats have objected 3 times to electoral college certifications. And in fact, it was the Congresswoman from California, Maxine Walters, that basically, of course, the sidebar, she's been out there spewing hatred, get them and, and hit them and so forth as far as supporters, just spilling hatred, but she actually has objected, and she said she didn't care if it was in writing or not. So it's been happening 3 times in the past 20 years where Democrats also have objected to the Electoral College votes. So the media won't tell you that.
That's right. So the question is it illegal to challenge
It's not
an
illegal
election?
to challenge it, right?
I mean, Democrats do it. Republicans do it. Republicans do it in primaries.
Right.
It happens all the time. How about in Georgia? I can't remember her name now. I've lost her name. That challenged a election in Georgia. She became the DNC
I don't recall that one either.
chair. And this was like 2 or 3 years ago. Challenged it and said that she actually refused to concede the election in Georgia. So it happens all the time. But apparently, when the Republicans do it or Donald Trump would do it, then let's indict him. Let's indict him. So what I see on these indictments in Fulton County, every single one of them is actually a First Amendment issue.
Oh, exactly, and it's not right, and it's your thought. So their thought. So even because he truly thought that it was stolen. So now they're looking into our thought now. You know, our thought is our property as well. It's more than just First Amendment. It's our thoughts. So now they're saying because he thought the election was stolen, they're going against, after that as well.
Exactly.
It's deep First Amendment. I mean, and it's not necessarily just him. Anybody that supports any sort of activity about fraudulent elections, they're going after you. They just don't want Trump. They want us.
Exactly. I'm going to take just a minute. In fact, we're going to be right back, and we're going to talk about the other people that were indicted in this process again in Fulton County. We'll be right back. Worldview Truth. Please like, subscribe, and follow Worldview Truth Randy Osborne on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you, and God bless. Worldview Truth. This is Randy Osborne. We're back with Worldview Truth, and I'm here with Bridget Smith. She is the chair of Marion County Republican Party, and we are back and talking about the indictment that came down from Fulton County, Georgia. And I want to kind of give a list of the people that were indicted. There were a total of 19 people that were indicted in this. And I'm going to give you a list of who those are. In fact, I'm going to actually pull it up on the screen and let people see this. First of all, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. Then we have Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani was a former mayor of New York City, cleaned the city up.
America's mayor.
Absolutely, that's what he was termed as, and I've actually met him. Got a picture with him actually, and he was at one point representing Donald Trump. He was indicted, and then you have John Eastman. He's a former dean of Chapman University Law School in Southern California. These are top attorneys in the United States. Okay. He was the former dean of Chapman University of Law. He was indicted. One of Trump's lawyers. Oh. Okay. All right. This makes sense now. Okay. You've got 2 of Trump's attorneys.
And there's more to come.
Oh, and there's more. Then you have, let's see, Mark Meadows. Oh, who's Mark Meadows?
Chief of staff.
He's a chief of staff. And he visited Cobb County. Cobb County. It wasn't Fulton County? Oh my, how about that? Is this a state prosecutor? Oh no. This is actually a county prosecutor. Okay. Just checking on that. This is interesting. Then you have Sidney Powell, another attorney for Donald Trump. Okay. We see how this is going. Then we have Kenneth Chesebro. Now, who is that?
Another prosecutor. Attorney.
He's an attorney, another attorney with the Georgia Republicans. Oh, okay, another attorney with Republican Party. Okay, this is interesting. So basically, if you represent the President of the United States or the Republican Party, then perhaps you're going to be on this indictment list. That's kind of what it looks like to me. Let's go on. There's more. Then you have Jenna Ellis. Oh, another attorney. Oh, my goodness.
It doesn't even look like, read hers. It just says that hers doesn't even look like it's, like, I mean, like, what is this? That she wrote a letter for something and they got her on a letter?
Well, look, she appeared with Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, gosh. So by association, there you go.
Okay. Well, makes sense to me. Let's go on. Then there's more. Ray Smith. Ray Smith, a Georgia-based attorney. Okay. The challenge results of the Georgia election. Okay. Another attorney that challenged. So basically, these attorneys that are representing people, let's go after them. All right, let's do this. Robert Cheeley is a Georgia lawyer. He presented video clips to the legislators of election workers at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta and alleged that the workers were counting votes twice or sometimes 3 times.
So he just presented that as not necessarily evidence, but it's possible evidence, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's true or not true, but he's presenting it.
Exactly.
So why would you be arrested for bringing up an issue that you feel in your heart is an issue?
This is unbelievable.
Right?
This is just unbelievable. Okay, let's go on. Michael Roman, former White House aide who served as the director of Trump's Election Day operations. Okay. So what you do is if you do indeed win, which I'm not going to say how they won because apparently if you say that you
get indicted.
You get indicted.
You could be indicted, Randy.
It's the free speech thing is kind of out the window now.
Forget it.
David Schaefer, the chairman of the Georgia GOP.
I'll be going after the state party.
I have actually met David Schaefer. In fact, during the recount, we had some conversations. Good guy, by the way. But he was indicted. He was one of the 16 state Republicans who met at the state capitol on December 14th to sign a certificate declaring, quote, falsely that Trump had won.
Right.
Okay. He doesn't, again, isn't that a First Amendment thing? I
yes,
believe there was indeed fraud.
Right.
I personally believe it was indeed fraud.
Right.
In fact, the ballots that I saw, I got to be careful now because allegedly I saw, I'm not really sure I saw them anymore, then maybe they weren't.
Again, it's your thought, your opinion.
Yeah.
If you truly think. So your critical thinking, your own deductive reasoning is now not allowed.
Right. Critical thinking is only valid or legal
If you're a
when
Democrat,
it's their thinking.
Democrat, right.
Okay, that makes sense. I got it. Whew, glad we cleared that up. Okay, we go on. So David Schaefer got indicted. Now we have Sean Still. He was also one of the 16 Republicans who signed
onto that
the certificate stating that Donald Trump had won the state.
Which is kind of like a resolution. We sign resolutions all the time, too.
You got to be careful. We don't live in Georgia. We're good. Well, maybe not because she thinks she's a federal prosecutor.
Right, exactly.
Apparently, I don't know. Anyway, Stephen Lee, prosecutor said that Lee, a pastor, oh boy, let's go after pastors now. We went after attorneys. We went after party officials. Now let's go after the pastor. He worked with others to try to pressure Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and her daughter, after Trump and his allies, quote, falsely accused them of pulling fraudulent ballots from a suitcase.
They're saying he pressured. He may not have pressured at all. This is the Democrats' version of what they're saying the indictment is.
Now,
let's be clear. It's not say that he pressured. He's being alleged of pressuring.
It's all alleged.
Right.
Okay. Now, again, I was there during the recount, and I was personally there in that massive facility. And I will say this: people doesn't know this, and I'm going to give a full disclosure here. There were suitcases, and they were little rolling suitcases. I thought I had one here in the studio. They're little rolling suitcases. They're big, actually. And that is actually the way that Fulton County does their ballots. This is how they store their ballots. This is how they keep their ballots. So these suitcases, they would normally have a precinct number on them, identify what's in that, and then they would come and they would, open them up. They usually have them zip tied with a little, something on them, and they would open them up and they would, but that was. So I will give full disclosure. But if I saw this, and I did not know that, if I saw what they were doing, I would flip out over that.
You would think something, right?
And the other problem is we really don't know. When we were doing the recount, if you're counting corrupted ballots, all you're doing is doing a recount of corrupted ballots.
Corrupted ballots, right?
You don't know. So anyway, so if I called that out and I said, "Hey, those suitcases, they're pulling suitcases out, and they're bringing in ballots in these suitcases. Is this? I don't know if they're legit or not." And you don't apparently have the.
You don't have the validity to even ask that question.
No.
Right. That's the problem.
No. All right, let's look on. There's more. Harrison William Prescott Floyd, also known as Willie Lewis Floyd III. He served as a director of Black Voices for Trump, and is accused of recruiting Lee to arrange a meeting with Freeman and Chicago-based publicist Travion Cuddy. Okay, he is accused of recruiting Lee to arrange a meeting. Is this? I don't even know what to say.
I think we need a graph to even connect all the dots here.
I think we need.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. They're chasing.
Where's the Blaze? He's
right,
good at that.
I know. Right.
Get him on this.
Exactly.
Okay. Travion Cuddy, prosecutors alleged he was the publicist, claimed to have high-level law enforcement connections. They say Freeman met with Cuddy at a police precinct where she brought Floyd into the conversation on a speakerphone. Prosecutors say Cuddy presented herself as someone who could help Freeman, but then pressured her falsehood to confess to election fraud. Okay, so it's somebody that had that knew people and had influence with maybe law enforcement and any communication. It looks like First Amendment stuff. I don't know.
Stretching conversation, right?
Do we have, here's the question. Do we actually really have a First Amendment anymore?
No. We're supposed to, but it seems like it's under attack every second of the day.
This is unreal. Let's go on. Kathy Latham, one of 16 Georgia Republicans who signed the certificate stating that Trump had won. Okay, she was indicted. She's also
for her own opinion.
Okay, just be glad you don't live in Georgia, because she is actually the chair of the Coffee County Republican Party.
Yeah, the REC Coffee County.
Wait a second, Coffee County is Fulton County?
It's not Fulton County.
Okay. Well, maybe the state really didn't get involved in this because maybe. Anyway, all right, we'll go on. Coffee County. Scott Graham Hall, Atlanta area bail bondsman. Oh,
wow,
we got a bail bondsman. I wonder if he was involved in doing any of the bail bonds for all these people that she indicted. Scott Graham allegedly involved in commandeering voting information that was a property of Dominion Voting Systems from Coffee County. That's interesting. A small South Georgia jurisdiction also charged in the scheme where Powell, Latham, and former county election supervisor. So he allegedly commandeered voting information from Dominion Voting Systems in Coffee County. Okay. I don't know.
Interesting.
We'll see how that plays out. Misty Hampton, she was
In the Coffee County, yep.
Coffee County. She was elections director in Coffee County. Elections director.
Maybe that's the SOE, Supervisor of Elections. Just calling
Sounds
it something
like it.
different.
Maybe.
So now they're going after the elections
Yeah, why not?
staff,
Yeah.
too.
Hey,
Let's get them all.
you think she was a Republican?
Most likely.
You think any of these people were Democrats?
No, not at all.
Okay,
Not at all.
just candidly asking. I'm not really. I don't know. Okay, so Misty Hampton was presented in the county elections office on January 7th with a computer forensics team copied software and data from the county's election equipment. She also allowed 2 other men to have been active in efforts to question the 2020 results. Okay, once again, you question it or you actually try to dig into what's really going on. This is what happens. So there was one person in this group that
Didn't get bond.
did not get bond. So let's take a look at that and find out who it was that did not get bonding. Let's see, there it is.
That was Mr. Floyd, right?
Mr. Floyd, Harrison Floyd. He did not get bonded. So he's going to have to spend whatever time he can in jail. Now, Harrison Floyd, what was he?
He was Black Voices for Trump. But he was accused of simply making an arrangement, recruiting Mr. Lee in a meeting with somebody else. So
There's no information why Harrison Floyd was not given bond. There's no information on that. I'll tell you what, the
Interesting.
district attorney of Fulton County is probably one of the biggest supporters or influencers that's driving the black community to vote for Trump. And it's because of this stuff right here. Okay. He was not bonded out. He was not allowed to have a bond. The only information that I can find on this was, I believe in Maryland, that the FBI issued him a subpoena. Now, I don't know what the subpoena was. I don't know if it's appeared before the grand jury for Fulton County. I don't know. I haven't really got into that, haven't looked into it. But it was an affidavit that Floyd slammed one of the agents down or up against something. And according to Floyd, they did not give any identification according to Floyd. So according to him, that he didn't know who these people were. They just showed up, got in his face, and he basically decided to
defended
fight.
himself.
Defend himself. Now we'll see how that goes, and we'll see. I don't even know if if he got indicted for that or got arrested for that, and I don't know if that's the reason that the DA says, "Oh, we're not going to bond him or give him bond." I don't know.
Wow.
That'll be interesting though to find that out. The other problem is he was the only black person that got indicted, and he's the only
one that's not
person
bonded.
that's not bonded.
Well,
Not saying there's a pattern there, because obviously the DA is black, but he is a Republican. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's what's going on there.
interesting.
In closing, here's my opinion, and you tell me your thoughts on this. We watched. I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch the primary debate. Did you get a chance?
Pieces.
Did you
Just
watch?
bits and pieces.
Well, Fox has been gracious not to allow us to actually play back any of that, because I was going to play it, but Fox has created some copyright
Really?
deal to prevent anybody from playing back any of that, any news from playing back anything. Now they can play back a very, very small snippet and then they have to delete it, so it can't be like on anything.
Wow.
So now there's probably some news agencies don't even know that, and they'll
Right.
just probably
Probably pieces of it.
blast
right.
it away. But there were several, and again, just because you're in my position, we're not going to get into individual candidates, okay?
Right.
Because they're Republicans. Well, maybe.
Well, and yeah, I'm going to watch my tongue too. But a lot of that on Fox, those questions, in my opinion only, were more geared to let's talk about Trump in a bad way. The questions were at the beginning were about January 6th. So it's as if they already had a preconceived notion of how this was going to go down. There were certain candidates that fought that. They were good at that, but there were some that did not. But it kept going on about that. And I know one candidate did finally say, we're rehashing stuff 3 years ago. Let's get on with the issues at hand today. But Fox in the questions kept going back. And then Martha Callum even went into the abortion issue and said it's a losing issue for Republicans. So it's as if these questions were already led down a path where true conservatives didn't even have a chance to answer the questions.
Right.
Does that make
right.
sense?
Yeah.
That was my perception.
Here's the other thing that I see, and if I was on some of these campaigns, for some of these people are running for presidency, and I'm going to say, you know who you are. Mm-hmm. But if I was to do that, this is what I would advise them. Don't you dare challenge Donald Trump on these indictments. Don't you dare get involved in that and go out there and publicly get out there and say, this is Donald Trump's fault and this is all about, and he's going to get indicted and we're not going to support him, etc. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the same thing that's happened to him. Now, you may like him or may not. You may not like his antics. Mm-hmm. Okay? I get it.
Right.
I get it. I'll never forget when he first ran, when he won the candidacy from the primary. He won the primary. This is 2016. Yeah. I'll never forget a meeting that we had, and I'll never forget in that meeting the discussion about giving him advice on what to not do, because he's out there. He knows how to fight. He's a fighter. Got to be from New York City. You got to learn how to fight. But this is what you cannot do. You cannot go out there and attack Donald Trump on these indictments, because the very same thing. If you take a stand as a candidate and you get in office, let's say that Donald Trump isn't the person that wins this, and you get in office and you take the stands that Donald Trump's took as Republicans. If you look at the positions that he took on just about everything, he took gret stands,
policy,
and they were
right.
Republican policy stands.
Right.
If you do that, there's no reason that these evil people won't come after you.
That's what they want. They want to come after us. Right?
Exactly. So you go ahead and say all this terrible stuff about Donald Trump, and then you turn around and either you will get in tune with the establishment, or they're going to come after you.
If they win on these indictments,
we don't have a country.
Republic is gone. And that's the other thing. They continue to say democracy. We are a constitutional republic. In fact, it states in the Constitution we are guaranteed verbatim. We are guaranteed a Republican form of government. It's not a democracy. Now, maybe our process of voting is a democracy, but we are a republic.
That's right.
And if they come after us and they win this indictment, it's the First Amendment, then again, as you see in all these 19 indictments, our thought, They're coming after our thought.
That's right.
Anything you say will be used against you, even because it's your thought. This is scary times. If we don't take back the White House, I'm truly concerned.
If you're a candidate and you're running against Donald Trump, here's my advice. If you don't like a policy, go after Donald Trump's policies. Some of his policies that you as a candidate said, I would do something different. Go about a bad policy.
Right.
If you didn't like him moving, our embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, then talk about that. Talk about that policy, and you didn't like that, and this is why. But don't you dare go after what's happening to Donald Trump from a legal standpoint, because if you do, what you're telling the public, you're telling all these Donald Trump supporters, you're telling the world that good for him, because this is what needs to happen to political opposition. They need to go after them. They need to throw them in jail and lock away the key. This is no longer a free nation when that happens.
Right.
And these people need to understand that.
Right. And executive privilege. They're going after executive privilege.
Yes.
And this affects any presidency. Executive privilege started way back with George Washington for a reason. He needed to have somebody to confide in and advise him.
That's right.
Now they're going after that, which again is thought. At some point, this has got to stop.
You're right. Well, this is Randy Osborne, and this is Worldview Truth. I'm here with Bridget Smith, chair of the Marion County Republican Party. Appreciate you coming in. Until next time, God bless. Worldview Truth.